This is episode 16 of the 99 Forever podcast. I'm Eric Friesen, and making his second appearance on the show is one of my best friends and the biggest Oilers fan in Australia, Chester Taylor. Chester, how's it going, bro?
Hey Eric, first of all, thanks for having me again. It's my second time here, and looking forward to it. Um, yeah, I mean, just been hanging out a lot at home, spending some family time um, during this pandemic. So, just trying to make the most out of it with family, and yeah, hopefully I can get back to work soon. It's like how many months now that I haven't started work yet? Like for 3 months now, I think. I haven't been working for 3 months, but hopefully we'll get back. And yeah, hopefully we can get back to a normal life soon. But yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy some time with the family, my daughter and my wife. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping it's going to get back to normal soon. Thankfully we're starting to get closer to the return of hockey and summer's here, so after a few months in quarantine, that's about as much as you could ask for right now.
Yeah, I mean, um, like I'm really looking forward for hockey. Like I really missed the game. Like it's been like when was the last time? March 11th, I think,
March
12.
March 12th, they played the
Yeah,
Jets. That was the
it's
last
like
game, I think.
months. Yeah, so hopefully in a month and a half or a month we can see hockey again.
Oh, definitely. And who knew when they played that last game that we'd be going this many months without hockey? I didn't know how long it was going to be when Gary Bettman announced that they were shutting down the league. So it's exciting that hockey's just right around the corner.
Yeah, I think that was against the Winnipeg Jets, right?
Yeah,
And
they
I
lost
remember the
in the
time, like I was watching that game, and then I think after the first period or the second period, uh, the NBA canceled the season.
That's right.
So I think it got into the players that into that game, and then it kind of had a destruction to them, like because they
Well,
knew it was coming. It can happen to the league. So
Well, that's what
yeah,
the
it did.
analysts were saying between periods.
Yeah,
They said don't be surprised if the NHL follows what the NBA is doing in the next day, and pretty much the next morning, I think the NHL had come out and announced that they were suspending play for the rest of the regular season.
yeah. And I remember, I think it was in that game. I think I'm not sure who was the one that said that from the commentators that I think Leon was talking to Shifley or Wheeler. I think then Drysdale said that asked like, "Do you know what happened to the NBA?" So like the players were talking about it on the ice. So they knew it was gonna come, and I mean they knew it's possible it can happen to the league, but yeah, it did. So it's unfortunate, but it breaks the momentum of the players. But for sure they're hoping to get it back and get ready to play again.
Definitely. And we've got a bunch of things to talk about tonight. It's a good time to have you on the podcast because there's actually some hockey news after very little to talk about for the last couple months. But, one thing I wanted to start out with last week, you and I were talking on the phone about hockey cards and basketball cards. And I was going to ask, did you see there was a mint condition McDavid signed rookie card that sold for $135,000 in San Diego?
Yeah, I've seen that actually. It's crazy. Like that's like here in Australia, that's like half of your, how can you say, half of a house
Your
actually. Like
mortgage?
yeah, mortgage your house. Yeah, it's like half of your mortgage. Like it's crazy. I think. And what year is McDavid right now? Fifth year, fourth year?
I just finished his fifth
Or
season.
yeah, it's fifth season. What more like if he's in his eighth or ninth year, right? It's gonna go up and up. That'd
Yeah.
be crazy. Maybe it's like your whole mortgage already. It's gonna be,
and and that was from a
yeah.
very rare collection. I believe it's called the Cup. And I did a story on for a school project years ago about hockey cards, and the guy I was talking to was explaining to me how valuable the Cup series is. And a lot of people don't even ever open their box just because it's almost more valuable all the cards inside than once you
Yep.
even take them out. But for that specific McDavid rookie, it was card number 97 of 99. So there was even added value to it aside from it being obviously autographed with a piece of the jersey that he wore during his rookie
Yeah.
season. So, I mean, look, I'm a collector of Oilers rookie cards, and I want to get the 2015 Upper Deck McDavid rookie, but I don't think I'll be bidding over $100,000 on a hockey card anytime soon unless I win the lottery.
Well, you could maybe sell your car or sell. I'm just joking.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
if I
yeah.
sell my car, that might get me about 10% there. So it's
That's
a
right.
long way to go.
Not even close to, not even close
Not
to
even
the
close.
price. Yeah. But
Yeah.
look, are you gonna get one, or I mean, like any card of McDavid? For sure you have to have
Well,
one.
I do have a couple McDavid cards already, but
Okay.
I mean the rookie card is always the one you want to get, and
Yeah. The
I
rookie
have
ones are the most valuable ones with the signature on it.
yeah, and I have the rookie cards of Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Anderson, Fear, Moog, Kevin Lowe, not Ryan Smith. I have Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Taylor Hall, Jordan Eberle. So Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are the next two that I really want to get. And it's like you said, if you don't get them soon, the value is just going to continue to rise, and those cards are going to be more and more expensive in the next few years as they continue to put up huge point totals.
Yeah, for sure. Those two, like, they're not gonna. I mean, they're one of the best in the league, so it's gonna just go up and up and up. I'm surprised you don't have Ryan Smith because Ryan
That's
Smith's
one
your
that I
guy
should
too.
find. And I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a decent amount. I don't think it'll be as expensive as, say, a McDavid or a Draisaitl, but that is one that I want to add. I have a ton of Ryan Smith cards, but adding his rookie to my collection is something I really want to do. And it's funny because growing up, the guy who lived next door to my parents, he owned a hockey card shop in the mall near our house.
Yeah,
So I would get tons of hockey cards and hockey memorabilia and posters, pictures there when I was all in high school and even into my early 20s. That was like my favorite spot to go in Center Mall near where we lived. So um,
nice.
unfortunately, he doesn't have that shop open anymore, but I'm sure I can still track down a McDavid rookie somewhere. And speaking of McDavid, it was kind of pretty cool to see his dog Lenny was voted the best dog in the NHL the other day. So I guess the best player now also has the best dog.
Yeah, I mean, don't be wrong. I mean, sorry, don't get surprised if you see a Upper Deck Lenny card someday. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw that on I think Instagram or Twitter. Yeah, that Connor McDavid's dog was voted the best dog. Is that the best dog or something?
Yeah, they're just there's a ton of NHL players who have dogs that are shown a bunch on social media. So I look, we both follow Lenny on Instagram, which
Yeah.
I think is mainly run by Connor's girlfriend Lauren. But at the same
Yep.
time,
Yep.
we all know Connor's a very serious, intense athlete. So it's just kind of cool to see him sort of let his guard down and play with his dog sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's his, your best friend, like I don't did you see the video clip that Connor was like I think he was doing some stick handling with
Yeah,
his dog?
he
Yeah.
was sort of just well, it's cool because it looks like he has his own hockey room in his house. You've seen a lot of
Yeah.
guys with indoor basketball courts.
Yeah.
Connor has the equivalent of that for hockey. It's like an indoor hockey floor hockey rink, which for me would be like a dream come true, especially growing up as a kid. And to uh, to have your own net and sort of shooting area in the house would be awesome. And he was just kind of passing the puck to himself off the wall, and Lenny was sort of trying to steal it away from him. That was a cool video.
Yeah. A lot of hockey players do that with their dogs. I think I
Yeah,
see a lot on social media like I think Panarin also does that as
Panarin
well.
tries to like deke out his dog.
Yeah, so a lot of the players are do it too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool that they voted Connor. I guess the Oilers fans deserve all the credit there for voting for McDavid's dog. And yeah, just kind of a fun little story to kick things off tonight. So we just kind of talked about it off the top of the show, getting pumped up for the playoffs to be back, and we're now less than 3 weeks away from Oilers training camp. Are you starting to get excited for the playoffs, or do you think that'll really start to amp up as we get closer to seeing all the players back on the ice together in July?
Yeah, I'm very excited, just the fact that hockey's gonna come back. So I really miss the game. I really miss the Oilers. I miss the team. I mean, I just miss the sport. Can't wait to watch it again. And I'm a bit nervous, I'll be honest with you, because we're playing the Blackhawks, right?
Yeah,
A little bit of a. I'm not really nervous, but they're a good team, Eric. I mean,
I
I
mean,
think from all the series that in the playoffs, I think this Oilers Chicago is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I hope we
yeah.
can pull it out, but I
And
think
look,
it's a good series. We're gonna have a good
I
series there.
really think they should have given the top two teams in each division a first round bye, as opposed to the top four teams in each conference. The Oilers got
Yeah,
a little screwed there. And like I said, I'm not going to complain too much about it. The Oilers are in the play-in, playoff, whatever you want to call it. I still consider this playoffs because they're playing in an actual series. But they're the top seed that didn't get a first round bye, and they're playing the bottom seeded Chicago Blackhawks. So they are the favorites in this series. And even though the Blackhawks do have a ton of experience, this is a series that the Oilers really should win. They've got their young players coming into the prime of their careers. They had an excellent season this year, and it's time for them to take that step forward and win a series for the first time in 3 years.
yeah. I mean, well, uh, it's gonna be interesting to see how the players, play again, despite I think they had 3 months off, right? Of just
Well, more by the time they get back to training camp, it'll be 4 months since their last game. So
yes,
now they're reporting. I believe it was the New York Post had it on Twitter, and a bunch of people were retweeting it yesterday that July 30th is the target date to start playing games. And originally, it was just going to be, or it was going to be 2 exhibition games before they got into the playoffs, and now it's sounding like it's only going to be one. So it'll be a 2 week training camp from July 10th to the 24th. Then they'll all fly to whatever hub city they'll be playing in and get that one exhibition game in, and then start games right after that. So it's all going to be a pretty quick process, and we should be seeing hockey by the end of the month. So that's another thing to really get excited for.
yeah. I mean, that's me too as well. I'm really excited. But you know what, Eric? I think in Australia we have the Aussie rules football, right?
Right.
The season was stopped as well. They played the first round and they stopped it, and then for 2 months there was no.
What
The
months
league
do
was
they
stopped.
normally play?
They
Do you know
play
what?
here around. They start around late March.
Okay. So they really didn't have
So
a chance to get going
yeah,
because the pandemic hit
yeah.
in
And 2 weeks
mid-March.
ago it came back. Yeah, it started again 2 weeks ago. They were shooting back. You know, all the games were upset. Like the bottom teams are beating the top teams
Oh,
now. I
really?
mean, yeah. I mean, I said to myself, I hope this doesn't happen to the NHL or the
Yeah.
Oilers, like, because
Well,
you
I
never
hope it
know.
does happen in the second round of the playoffs because the Oilers will be playing as the underdogs. But first, they got to get by Chicago. So
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Patrick Kane, John James against Leon and Connor. It's gonna be a fun series. So, but I think we can. I think we
they're
can,
they're
beat
basically
the
almost 10 years
Blackhawks.
apart. Like Kane was drafted in '07, Taves in '06, and then you've got McDavid drafted in 2015, Draisaitl in 2014. So there's quite a few years between the two players, and like I said, obviously the Blackhawks have accomplished a lot. They're a very experienced team, but this is really a series that the Oilers should win. They got the top two scorers in the NHL, and as long as they get good goaltending and the rest of the team contributes at even strength, I think that this is a team that should be able to win this series and hopefully go on a bit of a run. And I want to get to all that in a bit, but yeah,
Hey
it's
Eric,
just
do you know where the hub
sure.
Sorry, I mean Edmonton's out of the hub city, right? I
No,
think
they're still
it's.
they're still a
Oh,
contender, but I
okay.
I doubt they're going to get it. It's down to I believe 3 Canadian cities and 3 American cities, and
Oh, okay.
Edmonton's one of them. It's if I had to give my prediction, I think that Vegas will be the West Hub city, and Toronto will be for the East. It just seems
Yeah, I saw
logical
that
that
as
with
well.
with all the Canadian hockey media in Toronto, I just have a feeling that Toronto will be the city where the East plays, and for Vegas, they have the hotel space. It's an attractive market for the NHL to go to, and I think that the marketing there is going to win over. Despite Edmonton putting together a really good presentation to try and get the league to come and play all the Western Conference games in the city, it's just, in my opinion, it's going to come down to Vegas being the more shiny option, and that's why I think the NHL will go there. But at least we're starting to see groups of players back on the ice, and that's a good start. I think it's Chason, Benning, Russell, and Skinner who are already skating at Rogers Place. I can't remember if there's another guy in that group with them, but
It was yeah, I saw that as well.
Alex
Chason,
Chason, Matt Benning, Chris Russell, and Stuart Skinner was their goalie.
Benson, I think. Tyler Benson was there
Tyler
too.
Benson, that's right. I mean, you
Yeah.
got two Edmonton area guys in Tyler Benson and Stuart Skinner there. And Stuart Skinner will probably be the third string goalie for the playoffs because you're allowed to carry 28 players.
Yeah.
So with the expanded roster, you're definitely going to take an extra goalie. Some teams might even take two extra goalies, but I think Skinner will be that guy, and hopefully some good experience just for guys like him to watch, and Bouchard, any of those young guys who will be in the press box watching this playoff run. And the last time you were on the podcast was in October when the Oilers, they started the season with 3 straight wins. You and I talked right after they had beat the Islanders when James Neal scored 4 goals. I don't know if you remember that game, but
Yeah, I remember that game.
that was an exciting start to the year, and we
I
were
think that was
really.
the game that Dave Tippett didn't let James Neal practice the next day.
Oh
Was
yeah,
it
he
when he
yeah he
played?
gave him the day off. He said,
Yeah,
the new rule: if you score 4 goals, you get the
yeah,
day
that's
off of
right.
practice. So they ended up finishing the season in second place in the Pacific Division with a 37-25-9 record for 83 points before the COVID-19 outbreak hit, obviously, and ended the season early. But what are your thoughts on the Oilers' season overall?
Um, for me, I mean, I'm very happy of what they did this season. Like especially there are guys that really stepped up. Really, like Leon. Like what a season he has. Like no one thought that he was going to be the leading in the best what's it called this the leader in points, and he just won the Art Ross. So
Yeah.
and like we have Kyler Yamamoto coming from Bakersfield stepping up his game as well, and really Ken Holland made some good trades as well, and James Neal, the veteran that he is right there, and Nugent Hopkins as well. I mean everyone really played good. I mean what really impressed me was Leon, because when Connor got hurt, he carried the team. Like I was really nervous when Connor got hurt. Oh, I said this is a bit of a um, what you call it? What can you say? A scary moment. We might not
Oh yeah.
get a losing streak, but no, Leon really they took the leadership there and he carried the team, and the players really stepped up their game, and it just shows the character of the team. And credit to Dave Tippett as well. He did a heck of a job. Ken Holland, they really had you know they had a good plan for the team, so it's really good. And Mike Smith played great. Our goalies played great. Koskinen was solid too. Those are important. If your goalies play, I mean, if your goalies play good, this will see you have a good shot of winning, right? So yeah, I'm really I think they really what you call I expected them to, I mean, to do good this season, but I was just really happy of what they did. And because when they started the season, you predict them to make the playoffs as well, right?
You know what? This was one of the first years in a long time that I predicted that they wouldn't make the playoffs. And it's weird because all the way through the decade of darkness, I always predicted that this was going to be the year they were going to end the drought. And despite a roster that didn't have nearly enough talent to make the playoffs, I just always was the eternal optimist and believed that this is going to be the year they're going to break their drought, they're going to do something. And every year you'd get your heart broken. But for this first year with Ken Holland, I said, I think it's not a lock that they're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be a transitional year where they're going to try and bring in some new systems, get the organization back on track under better management and better coaching. And if they make it, that's fantastic, but I'm not expecting it, even though Ken Holland seemed very optimistic about the Oilers' chances. And he said, our goal for the 2019-20 season is to make the playoffs. And ultimately, that's what they did. It's just that I wanted to reduce the expectations a little bit for this season, just so it wasn't seeming like it's a do or die situation. But I did think the year after they would have to make it. But fortunately enough, the Oilers got off to a incredible start this year, and they were able to just ride it through the rest of the way, other than a little rough patch in December where their game fell off. They were really strong. They bounced back in January with like, I think an 8-1-2 run. And that was just what they needed to sort of cement their spot as one of the top three teams in the division. And from there, they just kept playing fairly consistent hockey and locked down a playoff spot. So yeah, it was weird that this was one of the first years in a while that I wasn't 100% confident that they would make it.
Well, I predicted they're going to make it, but I was thinking maybe a wild card spot.
Yeah, and that would have been I think you and I talked about that, just not even on a podcast, but just on one of our own phone calls, that I think we said if the Oilers could get a wild card spot this year and next year make it in the top three, the year after win the division, that would be good progression for the team.
Yeah, because I always had faith with Connor Leon. I mean, we have the best player in the league, so I was really thinking hopefully we can get the wild card spot. But as you said, you're right. We don't have that much talent around them, but we found pieces that can really help, like Kyle Yamamoto coming up. Yeah, go ahead.
They might not have a ton of and sorry to cut you off, but they don't have a ton of elite talent outside of McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, but they have some guys who did some roles that were effective. Like you brought in Josh Archibald, who scored 12 goals in only 70 games and was also an excellent penalty killer. So when you're able to sign a guy like that for $1 million and he comes in and gives you some depth scoring, and also is a really big reason why your penalty kill was so good this year. And you bring in a guy like Riley Sheahan, who helps out winning some face-offs and also helping out on the penalty kill. When you get guys like that in, and then you add some guys at the deadline like Andreas Athanasiou and Tyler Ennis, you're slowly starting to bring in more and more pieces to complement this team. And even a guy like Nygaard, he didn't score a lot of goals this year, but he added some to their team speed. So there's players all throughout the roster who are contributing in different ways. And then, of course, Kyler Yamamoto had an enormous impact this year. He came in just at New Year's Eve and was almost a point-a-game player the rest of the season. So you can't ask for anything more from him. He was a huge piece for the team. So this is a team that, like you said, it doesn't have the talent that the Tampa Bay Lightning have yet, but there are a lot of guys who play their roles effectively, and that's a big reason why the Oilers had success this year, I think.
Yeah, that's right. As I said, hats off to Ken Holland and Dave Tippett. Can you say Ken Holland's a genius?
Well, he's won 4 Stanley Cups with the Red Wings, so
yeah, I mean, he did a heck of a job with the team. Look, as I said, bringing in Archibald, Riley Sheahan, making good trades. Like we got Tyler Ennis. And Andreas Athanasiou was a 31 goal scorer the other season, 31 or so, 30 plus goals scored.
I think he had 30 in 2018-19. And this year was a bit of a tough year for him, but he has a chance to bounce back in the playoffs. And I would put him with Connor McDavid just because those two guys have such speed. And that's what I'm looking forward to this training camp ahead of the playoffs. You never get this opportunity to have 2 weeks to prepare for playoffs. So this is a very rare situation that they need to take advantage of. And when Athanasiou came in late February, he didn't have much time at all to get used to his new teammates and figure out how they play after being on a terrible Red Wings team all year. So now that he's going to come in and join the Oilers, he'll have 2 weeks to practice with McDavid and sort of build chemistry. And I'm really excited to see what those guys can do, especially if Cassian's on the other wing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, as you said, like, when he got traded to Edmonton, I think he was slotted to the first line already to play with Connor, I think.
Yeah, he was.
With Anaheim, against Anaheim with
Tyler
Ennis as well, right?
Tyler Ennis. And I remember, I can't remember what media member it was, but someone asked him, they asked Dave Tippett, why do you have the 2 new guys playing with McDavid for their first game? And he said, it's a homecoming gift.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and look what happened. Both those guys had a goal and an assist in the first game playing with Connor. So that trade paid immediate dividends. It's just a matter of, can they consistently do it over a longer period of time?
Yeah, that's right. Also, I wanted to mention Zach Cassian too.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a big um, piece that the part of the success that the Oilers are having right now, and he
he was
deserves a
off to a
contract
great start.
extension.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and look, I know some people thought he got paid too much,
yeah, I saw
and
that. I mean,
you
some
could
people are reacting
argue
to that.
that it was a million more than he should have got, especially because he was playing better before the contract than he was after. But look, the guy still finished with 15 goals in a shortened season, and he missed time because of two suspensions. And I think he was hurt for a couple games as well. But look, he produced well, and he's a great skater too. That's why I think you might have one of the fastest lines ever in the history of the league with Athanasiou, McDavid, and Cassian on that line. Like all three guys are burners, and they can just fly up the ice. So that's going to be exciting to watch in the playoffs. And we all know the physical element that Cassian brings too, right?
Yeah, he's a skilled big man. I mean, like
Still
he's a
big man.
first round draft pick too.
Yeah, and you're a big
Just
fan of the big guys. Like you like to see the 6'4",
yeah,
6'5" guys. So not the
oh yeah,
Cassian 6'5". I think he's more 6'3". But
yeah,
the
6'3",
point
big
is,
body guy.
yeah, you like the guys with the large frame. Yeah,
Yeah, like Leon, and Leon's my guy. I mean, Connor too. I mean, those two guys, But I really like big, strong guys. Likes to hit and skilled big guys. Like,
you remember the hits that Cassian was delivering in the 2017 playoffs? He was just
oh
like
yeah,
a one
oh
man
yeah,
wrecking ball.
yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that.
Cassian's 6'3", 211 pounds. Just looked it up. So
Mm.
he's got a good frame on
I think
him,
that was
and
San Jose that was just trying to hit
yeah,
everyone.
he was just hitting. He was hitting everything, and he was scoring goals. He scored a
Yeah.
game. He scored a game-winning goal in San Jose, and he scored a breakaway goal in Edmonton, a shorthanded breakaway goal too, which was just awesome. But yeah, I mean,
I
look,
miss playoff hockey, man. I miss Edmonton playoff hockey.
yeah,
I remember those
there's a
times.
there's a lot to look forward to here. I'm so excited for it. But just a couple other things I wanted to mention from this season, reasons for their success. I mean, we talked a little about McDavid and Draisaitl. They were the first duo to finish first and second in NHL scoring in a non-lockout shortened season since Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr in 1995-96. Like we're talking about one of the best duos in the last quarter century, and they also had the second highest power play efficiency in the NHL in the last 40 years. So I think that power play dominance was so important. Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith, they were a solid goaltending tandem all year, which I think a lot of people doubted them, and they exceeded expectations in my opinion. And like we sort of talked about, the bottom six guys really outworked the other team on most nights, and that's a big reason why they were able to have such a strong record this year and uh, avoid any long losing streaks. Like every time they lost two games, they always found a way to bounce back with a win. They never let it get to 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you say with the sorry, going back to the players also, I forgot to mention. Sorry, I just
Yeah.
want to Ethan Bear too.
Oh, I mean, what can you say about that guy? A rookie that came out of, well, I shouldn't say came out of nowhere. He he's a rookie I've been following for a long time, being a WHL kid and a Saskatchewan kid like myself. But I don't think anyone thought he was going to have the season he had. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'll answer I'll go to the topic that you said a while ago, but I just want to, because I forgot to mention Ethan Bear, because he's really a big part too.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
for
it was
sure.
in training camp, someone got hurt. I think Larson, right?
He got hurt in the first game of the season, and that's when Bear
Yeah,
played a higher role. They thought he was going to make the team based on his play in training camp in the preseason. But once Larson broke his leg in the first period
yeah,
of the
that's where he
first
got the
game,
minutes. Yeah,
yeah, that's where he got the more minutes.
yeah. Okay, sorry. So going back in, what was it? Was it when you said again, or did we stop?
Oh, I was just saying, you know, looking at all the reasons why the Oilers had such success, like
Oh
what can
yeah,
you say about their power play and McDavid and Draisaitl's
yeah.
dominance together?
Okay, so first of all, despite the talent that Draisaitl and McDavid have, I think it goes to the relationship with each other off the ice, on the ice. Off the ice, I
Yeah,
think they're really close friends. And of course, when you have that relationship, I mean, you talk a lot. I mean, like you're like committed to something, um
They
they
share
want
a
to,
passion for sure.
yeah, and they
They
want to
both
have
love the game.
they want to win for Edmonton.
That's it.
They're committed to Edmonton, and that really makes them really what you call this, a deadly duo. Like, despite
Oh
the
yeah,
talent that they have, they're really committed to win, and I could really tell from them they're really giving their all, like in every game they're doing. I mean, they're still young, but they're the leaders of the team. They lead the team. I mean, Connor is not really a vocal, how can I say, a captain that really likes to be, but it just shows on his game. Like everyone, like
yeah. He leads by
there's,
example more than talking in the dressing
yeah,
room.
yeah. So it goes with. I think Leon's more of the ones that talks with the players. That's how I see it. But that's the way I see it. But but everyone's just like on the same page as where Connor and Leon is. They just want to win for Edmonton, man. They just want to, because like
Absolutely.
it's been a while that Edmonton, like they made the playoffs a few years back, but it's just once, and then they want to bring the glory days back. So they really want to win. So it just shows like with the way they play and the chemistry they have, and it's just it's good because people are saying that Draisaitl can only play with McDavid, but when he have his own line, he's not gonna produce some points. But hey, it's already proven. So
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
I
I'm just
mean,
so happy Leon has found that line. That's my favorite. Like Nugent Hopkins, Leon, and Yamamoto. That line,
awesome line. Probably the
yeah,
best second line in the NHL. It could be a first line on most teams.
for
And
sure.
just Draisaitl has exceeded all expectations. I wrote an article on him before the year talking about how underappreciated he was, and that this is a guy who was, I think, ranked 16th in the league. And I'm just thinking the guy scored 50 goals and had 100 points. And there were three Leafs players, not to just pick on one team, but John Tavares, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner were all ranked ahead of him. And I'm just thinking, there's no way he's the 16th best player in the league. This guy is pushing for a top five spot. And I believe after this year, he really cemented himself as a top five player in the league. And that sort of leads me to my next question. I mean, you and I were both huge fans of Draisaitl basically from the start. And we actually met on Twitter in the summer of 2014, right after the Oilers drafted Draisaitl. But did you ever think that he'd one day win an Art Ross trophy?
Look, I'll be honest with you. No,
I
I'll be
honestly didn't
honest.
either.
Yeah, but I knew he's gonna be a superstar in the league. I mean, he has the potential to be one. He is right now, but during that time, well, he was the third or fourth pick,
Third
third,
overall. Yeah.
yeah, third overall pick.
He was
So
ranked
I don't-
fourth going into the draft.
yeah, that's right. Hats off to Craig McTavish, right?
Yeah, because even
That's insane.
Sam Bennett, like the three players ranked ahead of him were Aaron Ekblad, Sam Reinhart, and Sam Bennett. And
Yeah,
I know there were some people who wanted the Oilers to pick Sam Bennett, and I was big on Draisaitl. I thought they needed that size, and I'm glad that they picked him.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, as I said, me too as well. I'm just glad they picked him, and I mean, I didn't expect. Maybe I thought he was gonna be a 80-point player, 80, 90, or 70 to 80, 90, somewhere like that, but not 100.
My prediction was he was going to be like a 75-point scorer. He was going
Yeah,
to get 30 goals, 70 points. That was going to be his range as a top player. And I mean, even if he only became that, that would be great. Like he had 77 points the year the Oilers made it to the playoffs in 2017. And I remember thinking like even if this is as high as it goes for him, I can live with him being a 77-point scorer. That's awesome. And he's just
yeah, for
continued to
sure.
exceed expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was a great passer, Eric, but I didn't really see this coming that he's a great goal scorer as well. So he can really shoot the puck. So you know what I mean. I remember when the time we drafted Draisaitl, I said, "Oh, perfect. He's gonna play in the second line. First line is Nugent Hopkins because I didn't know Connors would come to the team. Oh, so I even have him ranked behind Nugent Hopkins when he got drafted. So
Yeah,
You
because
know,
you never knew where he was going to play. I think a lot of people thought, well, Nugent Hopkins will be the first line center and Draisaitl will be the second line center, because Nuge was only 21 years old, right? When Leon was drafted, he was still a very young player.
yeah, and he was the first pick too, so
He was
that's
the
why I
first
mean,
pick. Yeah,
yeah, I had
and
very high expectations
he
there.
was coming off a career high 56-point year, so it looked like he was starting to, bring up his point totals and continue to trend up. But it's almost unbelievable that the Oilers not only got the best player from the 2014 draft in Draisaitl and 2015 draft in McDavid, but they have also both won scoring titles already.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, and they're 23, 24 years old,
Yeah,
just the start of their prime, and then, well, Connor. I mean, I, I have,
Connor's just maybe
I
starting it.
knew it's going to happen. Yeah, it's just a matter of when, you know. But with Leon, it's just
That's the crazy thing about Connor is that he's just entering his prime now, and he's already been the best player in the NHL for at least 2 years, if not three. So to say that he's going to only get better, and in my opinion, I think he'll be a 130-point guy going forward. Like this is going to be an exciting era of Oilers hockey going forward here in the 2020s.
yeah. That's why you should buy that rookie
Yeah,
card.
I
Now.
gotta get it.
Got to
Nice
get it
tie
now,
in.
man.
Yeah, I gotta get that before the price goes up. But I talked about this on the last podcast I did with Ira Cooper, but I want to get your take on it as well. Do you think Draisaitl is the favorite to win the Hart Trophy over Nathan McKinnon and Artemi Panarin?
Yes, I do. Uh, well, that's because he's my favorite Edmonton Oilers player, but I mean, he's proven it. Like what a season he has. It shows in the points. And as I said, when Connor got hurt, he carried the team. And I mean, he had an unbelievable. How many games? Sorry, I can't remember how many games did Connor miss. I think 5 games, 4 or 5, or how
Uh,
many?
he missed 7 games with his
Seven
injury,
games. There
actually,
you go. But
unfortunately, and it sucks because if he would have been back sooner, he would have hit 100 points, and it would have been his fourth straight 100-point season. So that was kind of disappointing he didn't get there. But look, they wanted to be on the safe side, make sure he was fully healed before he came back, and they couldn't take any chances with playoffs just around the corner, or at least they thought at the time.
yeah, and during that 7 game stretch, they won. Was it 4-2-1? I think.
Uh, th-
I think they won a lot of games that time, and Leon carried the team.
I think they went 4-2-1, if I'm not
Yeah, 4-2-1.
mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Leon carried the team, so that
or
really
or
stand
maybe
out to me.
3-2-3. But they had a winning record, and Leon was very good during that stretch. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and as you said, look, we didn't have much talent as well. You know what I mean? But they found ways to win. You know, Leon found ways. Connor, I mean, the guys found ways to win, and yeah, I mean, just the leadership that they showed, that Leon showed to the team when Connor wasn't there. And there are a lot of games that even Connor was there. Leon was just so dominating. Like I remember at the start of the season, like the first game, I think he was so dominant. Well, you know, Connor had a not slow start, but I think he was because he just came from an injury, right? I think his preseason was a bit on and off, like training. He's just want to get him
Yeah,
healthy, and you know, there's always wanted to make sure that he's healthy. They don't want to risk anything.
exactly.
So Leon was so like dominant. You know, Leon was so like prepared for it, and you know, he was really looking forward for this season. You know, just want to win the cup, and yeah, and I think really deserve. I mean, with respect to Nathan McKinney, he's a heck of a player too. But
Oh yeah.
I
And
mean,
look,
like,
both those guys did a lot. The Rangers wouldn't be anywhere close to the playoffs without Panarin, but really the only reason they got in is because of the expanded playoff format. As for Nathan McKinnon, I know he was so far ahead of his next closest teammate in scoring, and he carried them while they had a bunch of injuries as well. But when Draisaitl gets 110 points and no one else in the league even hits 100, I think it's a slam dunk that he wins it.
yeah, I mean, 111 points in 70 games, right?
Yeah. What
I
more can
mean,
you ask? 71. What more can you
yeah.
ask for?
I mean, there you go. It just shows.
He was at the 100-point mark in February. I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember the game they played against the Nashville Predators? I think it was in early March where he and McDavid both had 5 points.
Yeah.
Leon had four
I
goals
remember
and
that.
one assist, and
Can you say
Connor
it's the
had
best game of the season?
Connor had one
Yeah.
goal and four assists. That was probably the best game of the season. They scored 5 goals in I think it was 5 minutes and 13 seconds in the third period. It was
Yeah.
just it was an incredible run, and that wasn't even the franchise record for fastest 5 goals. That's how legendary
And
this team is
and
for
with Pekka
scoring. But
Rinne too on net.
yeah, and that
I
was the
remember. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that was the second time this year they both had 5 points because back in November, the Oilers beat the Avalanche something like 6-2, and Connor had 6 points that night, and Leon had 5 points.
Mm.
So that's they each had 5 point games twice in the same season, which is just incredible.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, I mean, I remember that game going back to Nashville. There was like the fans at the back of the bench, like they're putting their hands down, like to Leon when you know what I mean, and Connor when they're going to the bench. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They're like praising Leon
They
and
were
Connor,
bowing down to him,
bowing
bowing
down
down
to
to
them.
his greatness.
And but look, hats off to Nathan. Hats off to Artemi Panarin. Heck
So
of a
what's
season.
your
Did a lot
prediction?
of
Who
stuff.
will be number one? Who will be number two? Who will be number three in Hart Trophy voting?
I'm gonna go with Leon first, and I'm gonna go with Panarin, then McKinnon.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
because yeah, go
just
ahead.
just while we're on it, we'll expand just to a couple other ones. Um, let's talk about the Ted Lindsay Award, the most outstanding player in the league. I think Leon Draisaitl should also win the Ted Lindsay, but I would not be surprised if Connor McDavid somehow sneaks into the conversation as well, just because of what he did when the season seemed in doubt at some point because he was coming back from a major injury. And to put up elite numbers, I think that's a reason why he could at least get nominated for it. I wouldn't be surprised if Connor and Leon were both nominated because the rest of the players in the league, they still know that Connor's the best. And they did that player poll halfway through the season where all the NHL players said, like, who do you think is the best player? And I think 63% said McDavid. So I still wouldn't be surprised if he gets the nod there, at least for a nomination, as well as the Masterton Trophy, which basically goes to the comeback player of the year now, but it's supposed to go to the player who showed the most dedication and perseverance for the game of ice hockey. And I I think that Connor should be a lock for that one too, coming back from the injury. How about you?
Yeah, same for me. With Ted Lindsay, I wouldn't be surprised if it's gonna be Connor McDavid. I mean, he's the best player right now in the whole. He's the best player in the world right now. So for sure, players are going to look at that. I mean, I really feel he's going to win it too as well. I mean, but it can be Leon, as you said, because of what he did this season. But you know, Connor is just a special player. I mean, it's a one generational player. So I mean, for me, it's going to be Connor, and then with the Masters on it, it's comeback. I think it's going to be Connor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those honestly, Dreisaitl deserves to win uh,
Yeah,
the Lindsay this year. He was the most outstanding player, but I would think that Dreisaitl wins and McDavid gets nominated.
yeah. Well, my
But you
prediction
know,
is Hart Trophy and Art Ross to Leon, and
yeah,
Ted Lindsay and Maston to Connor.
if Connor wins two trophies and Leon wins two trophies, it was a pretty great season overall, and they would probably deserve it. Although, like I said, when it comes to most outstanding, it's sort of a different qualification than most valuable player. So, I mean, anyone could really take it. I wouldn't be surprised if McKinnon or Panarin stole that as well because like I said, they had some challenges this year too on the teams they were on, and they were incredible for their own team. So it's
Yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
it's not one that's going to be just a lock to go to one guy. But I would like to see Draisaitl and McDavid both nominated. And to some people, the Ted Lindsay might actually mean more than the Hart Trophy, because the Hart Trophy is voted on by the writers, and the Ted Lindsay is voted on by the players. So which one do you think is more important to get? To me, I mean, the Hart Trophy has the prestige, but I think it's almost more important to get the other players to say this guy is the best.
Well, for me, if you're an athlete, I mean, if you're a player,
You want the respect of your peers, right?
yeah, you want the respect of the players. I mean, like, because you play against them. If you know this guy has big respect to you, it feels great, right? Like, when you're on
Like,
the ice, you know these guys respect me a lot. They know that I'm the best player in the league. It feels good to yourself.
well, let me ask you yourself. You played college basketball.
Yeah,
When you played, did you always know who the best players in your league were?
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Like if someone
she,
said, like, Chester, can you name the top three players in the league? You would be able to say, oh, this guy, and this guy. Like it was pretty well known.
yeah, for sure.
And it wasn't just you. Basically, everybody knew who the best guys were.
Yep. I mean, especially me, I get to play with them. You can really see who's the best player. I mean,
Oh,
unless if there's like,
was one of your teammates in that category?
yeah, I could say one of my teammates was there. He's a top three
Okay.
player in the league. Well, he won the MVP. So, I mean, for I think back-to-back MVPs, that's very hard to do in college basketball in the Philippines.
Definitely.
So you're a lot of
And you know what?
respect.
I'll ask you this then as well, because a lot of times when you play with good players, it makes everyone else better. The Oilers players of the '80s have talked about how playing against Wayne Gretzky in practice made them all better, including Mark Messier, and who was a great player in his own right. But
My guy.
all those guys, yeah, and all those guys benefited from practicing against Wayne Gretzky. It made them all better players when they got into the games. Did you feel like practicing against other very talented players made you a better basketball player?
For sure. I mean, if you want to be, I mean, for me, to be recognized as one of the best in the league or in the competition, it's not all about your or individual skills, your talent. It goes down to your leadership, how you lead the team, and how you make your teammates better. So, and of course, the talent that you have as well. It comes to that. I mean, basketball is a sport. I mean, I say it like in hockey, it's a team sport, right? It's not an individual sport.
Right.
So it's all about making your teammates better and leading them to goals to win a championship.
I think in basketball, one thing that might be a little different than hockey, though, is one player can make a greater difference than one hockey player can. Because even a player like McDavid is only on the ice for about 22, 23 minutes at max. So he can only impact 1/3 of the game. But the star players in the NBA, how how many minutes do they play out of 48? Right? They're on the court for a much longer time, and they can have a bigger impact on the game.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, if the game's really close, like it's a head-to-head game, like the game's close,
Mm-hmm.
you can see star players playing around maybe 35, 36 minutes a game.
But in some cases, don't they play even over 40? The top guys like LeBron.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're gonna be it depends. Like regular season games, I could say close to 36 to 40 minutes. But if it comes to playoffs time and it's crunch time, it's if the games are really close
They don't
during
want to come out.
playoffs, they'll rest maybe 2 3 minutes, 4 minutes, but that's it.
But
And the
back
whole
in
second half, you play the whole second half. Some players like that, but it can lead to injuries too. Like you know, but you gotta make sure that you know how to control your players' minutes as well.
right, but when you get super competitive guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, when it would be playoff time, those guys wouldn't want to come out of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the basketball. Like if the coach sees that, I mean, if the coach tells you you're gonna, I mean, if you're a player and you see your coach gonna try to sit you for a bit for a rest, still say, no, 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 I'm good, I'm good. You know,
Plus, they're getting TV timeouts as well as all the timeouts they take during a basketball game anyway. So they're getting opportunities to rest. It's not like they need to come off the court for 5 minutes anyway.
yeah, that's right.
But
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. But in hockey, like it's just fast paced,
Yeah,
like on and on.
you're conserving your energy a little more um, because the pace of the game slows down once the team takes possession into your side of the court, right?
Yep.
Whereas in hockey, it's such a fluid game where it's just end to end rushes. That's why you can only be on for a minute and a half at most. Most shifts are a minute or less.
And there's more players in
E-
hockey as well.
Exactly. So you need to basically be making line changes ideally every 50 seconds, 45 seconds, just so that you can conserve more energy because you're going full blast that whole time. But let's talk a little about Jesse Puljujarvi now. There
Yep.
was another guy who you're a big fan of, and there was a Finnish journalist who interviewed Puljujarvi recently and asked him if he would ever play for the Oilers again, and apparently he said never say never. So after requesting a trade out of Edmonton last summer and playing a full season in his home country of Finland, where he was one of the best players in the league, do you think Puljujarvi will ever be back with the Oilers?
Um, it's gonna be interesting to see, but I'm not too sure about that. But for me to have Puljujärvi back with the Oilers, I'll accept that. I mean, I've always had faith with him because he's a World Junior MVP. He has the talent. I just thought that he didn't have the confidence that he had in junior or in Finland when he came to the NHL. Or I think the Oilers kind of rushed him a bit
Oh yeah.
to play, the development part right there. But the skill is always there. I mean, look, he's a great skater for a tall guy. He can shoot the puck, he can pass the puck. I mean, it just shows that his confidence was really down, and when he was playing there and when he was on the ice, it was never the same when he was back, in junior or wherever in Finland. I know it's the NHL, it's a different game, it's a man's game, but you know, I mean, he attests the language as well, and maybe it was hard for him to communicate with the guys, and yeah, I just felt that he was rushed a little bit too early to play in the NHL, and yeah, but he has a talent, so I'll definitely accept it. And he's only 21 years old, so there's a lot of upside. So I think he can prove something, and
Yeah,
I think
there's
he's learned a lot as well when he came to the NHL. Maybe, and then when he comes back, for sure he'll have that maturity and he knows what to expect. And maybe he can do good and show what he has.
definitely. And look, he was a dominant player and the MVP, like you said, of the 2016 under 18 tournament and the 2016 World Juniors. And when he came to the Oilers, he even looked very talented and was looked like a man among boys when he was playing in the rookie tournament in Penticton. And then he comes into the Oilers, scores his first NHL goal in the first ever game at
Yeah, I
Rogers
remember that
Place when
one.
they beat the
Yeah,
Flames. But they mishandled his play from the start. He wasn't ready to be in the NHL at 18. It hurt his development. Uh, and just they were scratching him. And when he would get back into the lineup, some nights he would only play like 3 or 4 minutes. And then eventually they sent him down to Bakersfield, where he actually played pretty well, but he kept bouncing back and forth between the NHL and the AHL for the next 2.5 years.
that hurt him,
And
I think.
it hurt him a lot. And then Ken Holland was going to, or not Ken Holland, Ken Hitchcock was going to take him and turn him into a better player. He had all this confidence, bring him up so I can work with him. And I think that was another mistake. They should have left him down in the AHL for that full year, but they blew through his entry level deal without really getting much out of him and wasting his development there. So it was just really disappointing to see that happen to a fourth overall pick and a guy who was very popular in the city of Edmonton. Like Oiler fans loved this guy. He was kind of funny, even if he wasn't trying to be funny, and also very talented and all that. But when you think about his final season, he only had 9 points with the Oilers, and I think he had a nagging hip injury, and obviously he did get surgery on both hips, but that was a point when he shouldn't have probably been playing at all. And like I said, after wasting the first 3 years of his career, they couldn't afford to cut him again and send him down to Bakersfield because he would have had to clear waivers, and I'm almost certain some team would have picked him up. And then now you've lost a fourth overall pick for nothing. So Ken Holland, being the savvy veteran GM that he is, made a very smart decision to let Jesse go play in Finland for a year because he regained his confidence. He put up, I think, 53 points in 56 games, had a very successful season over there, and just started to get his game back on track. And I hope that if he comes back to the NHL, he'll be given a better opportunity and played with more skilled players because they couldn't expect him to do much with Milan Lucic at that point of his career. And those two were just a terrible mix from the start. And it just, they got to get him some more skilled line mates if they're going to get the most out of this guy. But I do believe that he is still a good enough player. And while he might never live up to his draft position, he could still carve out a decent NHL career for himself.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, look, he still has time to prove it. He's still young, and he has the skill. And it's gonna be interesting what Ken Holland gonna do with Jesse Puljujarvi. You know how pumped I was when he got drafted,
Oh
right?
yeah. You
That
wanted
was
him
good.
even you were as excited for Puljujarvi as I was for Draisaitl before they drafted him, and I know you love Draisaitl too. But
Yeah,
um, look,
I
here's
was
the other
thinking
thing.
Gretzky, Eric Curry. There he
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Well, yeah, you got the guy from Southern Ontario and the guy from Finland, so it just makes sense. But
Yeah,
look, if Puljujarvi comes back to Edmonton and he wants out a year from now, then hopefully he's played well enough to at least increase his trade value so that Ken Holland can get some better offers for him. But that's what Holland has to say. Like, look, come back and play one season in Edmonton, put up 15 to 20 goals, let the rest of the GMs in the league see that you are a valuable asset, and then I'll be able to move you. But it's a lot harder to trade you right now when I'm not getting the best returns that I could because you want to get as much value for him as you can. And I just don't think they're going to get as good of an offer as they should for him at this point. And um, that's what Ken Holland has to sell Puljujarvi on. Plus the fact that there's a new coach and a new GM here, so any hard feelings you had against the old regime, like those guys are gone now. The only one who's still hanging around is Keith Gretzky, but I'm not sure he would have any beef with him. I think it was more with Todd McClellan and Peter Chiarelli before that.
yeah. Look, you never know, Eric. Yes, you
And we
said
don't know what's going on inside the room, right? Like
yeah,
I've talked to you about this before. I don't know how many close relationships he had on the team because he can't speak the language. So I would hope that, he does have friends on the team who can make him feel like he wants to be a part of this group.
yeah, and you never know. We might keep him if he plays well.
Well, that
So
I would love that. I'm just saying
yeah,
if he really wants to get traded, then they'll say, "Well, look, the best way for you to get traded is for you to come back for a year and play well. If you come back and don't play very well, then once again, we're not going to get the best offers for you." But it's just it's a matter of him deciding how much he wants to be an NHL player. If he just wants to stay in Finland until he's 25, and I think that's when his NHL rights expire with the Oilers, then he could be a free agent. But I don't think he wants to sit around for another 4 years before he gets another crack at the NHL.
yeah, for sure. What's your prediction? For me, I think he'll be back.
It's so hard to say, but I think the fact that he said never say never gives me
Yeah,
a sliver of hope that
me
he'll be
too.
back on the team next year.
Yeah,
And look, even though Cassian got the new contract, that top line right wing spot isn't set in stone. And if he comes in and steals that spot and ends up playing with McDavid and
Anthony, see
Athanasiou
you.
or Ennis or whoever, there's going to be opportunities to play with McDavid. And maybe that's not the ideal spot to start him for a guy who hasn't played in the NHL for over a year to come in and be on the first line with the best player in the world. But if they start him playing some soft minutes on the third line and kind of slowly work him up to playing those top line minutes, I could see something like that happen. But I think that there's maybe a 25% chance that he ever becomes a player that is going to be a productive top six forward at this point. I'd need to see more from him to believe that he could be that. But like I said, if he ends up coming back and he's a solid third liner with size and skill, then those are the kind of guys you need in your bottom six as well. You can never have too much talent. Just look at all the best teams in the league. They have talent throughout the lineup. But I know the expectations were higher for Puljujarvi when he was drafted.
Yeah, you're right. As you said, look, he can work his way up. He just has to keep playing the way that, on his top ceiling. He just played the way that he used to play back in junior, or just the confidence that he has,
Just got to get back to that. There's another interesting Oilers story from overseas I wanted to talk to you about. Dmitri Samorukov, and a Russian sports reporter tweeted last week that the Oilers are planning to loan Samorukov to CSKA Moscow in the KHL for the 2020-2021 season. And Sportsnet's Mark Spector also put out an article later that day, basically confirming these rumors that he was going to be going to Russia. And while there's no official confirmation yet, what do you think about Samorukov possibly playing one season in Russia?
I think it's great for him. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with the AHL, right? If it's gonna go through, or at least when he goes back to Russia, he knows he's gonna play some hockey. You know what I mean? Like, and he's gonna play with top professional players in Russia. So then, just doing if the NHL doesn't push through, then doing just doing training, it's better off to play some professional hockey back in Russia. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any problem with that, and I think it's good for his development. Because it's during these tough times.
So do I, because the KHL is probably a more talented league than the AHL. So he is going to be playing against better players, and I don't think he was really going to have a chance to make the Oilers next season anyway. I think he's more 2 years away at this point. But he's one of the most promising prospects they have, and he put up 10 points in 47 games as a rookie defenseman with Bakersfield this year. But
I'm excited to see him, Eric. I'm sorry. I'm just excited to see him. If he makes, because I know he has that talent too. I mean, he's a great talent that we have, great prospect that we have in Bakersfield. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait what he can show in the NHL.
He can score. He's got a great shot. He hits hard. He's got size.
Tough as well. Yeah,
tough. He's a good skater. But like I said, you mentioned it before. At this point, no one really knows when the AHL season is going to start. I know that the NHL GMs are sort of getting together, trying to figure out how they could make the season work. And Ken Holland is one of them, who's on the committee, I believe. But look, he probably doesn't want to go 8 or 9 months without playing hockey. So I think that's why it's best for his development to go play in Russia, because we know the KHL season is going to start in September. And the only thing I'm even slightly concerned about is that he's going to be playing on the larger ice, the bigger ice surface again. And I'd like him to continue developing on the North American rink, because he's been over in North America for 4 years now, I believe. So you'd like him to continue playing on that ice and developing at the pro level here, because you don't want any habits to come into his game from getting used to the larger ice in Russia next year. But unfortunately, we can't predict when a global pandemic is going to hit. So it's kind of forced the team's hand at this point. And I don't think he'll be the only prospect that'll do this. I think other guys are going to look to go to Europe as well. I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm not saying everyone's going to go over. Like, I don't think a guy like Ryan McLeod will be playing in Russia next year, but
yeah,
maybe they'll be looking at some other European leagues, or possibly they just wait for the AHL to start whenever it gets going. I know the WHL recently announced that they'll be starting play on October 2nd. So my hope is that if the junior hockey leagues are going to be getting going in October, right when the NHL season's ending, that the minor pro leagues will be starting around that time too.
Yeah, for sure. I
The
mean,
other,
they're gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. They're gonna think of that's an option, like to play overseas, because of course, these guys want to play hockey. So if this costs them not to play hockey in North America, they're gonna look
Yeah.
at options. They're gonna talk with their agents, and they're gonna see what's best for them, for sure.
And here's the other thing. Samorukov was set to make $70,000 in the AHL next season. And Mark Spector reported that he could make somewhere between 250,000 and 300,000 playing in the KHL. So you can't blame a guy if he has the chance to make more
More
than
money.
double, way more than double of what he could have made playing over here. He gets to go play in his home country of Russia and make considerably more money. So there's definitely a financial bonus to this move as well.
Yeah, for sure. Money's involved everywhere, so that's part.
Oh
But
yeah.
as I said, it's good for the development as well for
Now, for a guy like
Samorukov.
Bouchard, though,
Yeah,
like Evan Bouchard, I believe
he'll
will
make
be
the
on the
team.
Oilers next year. So
Yeah, that's what I see
that's
as
why
well.
I don't think I think the Oilers would discourage him from trying to go play somewhere else because they'll say, "Look, you're going to be on our team, so or at least you'll have a really good shot." And Ken Holland isn't the type of guy who promises young guys anything. He's always wanted his prospects to earn their spot. And look at Yamamoto. He didn't make the team out of training camp, and Holland brings him up halfway through the year, and he's one of the best players on the team for the last half of the season. He's a patient guy, and he just has a way better approach to the game than Chiarelli ever did in his tenure with the team.
Yeah, for sure. I
And
mean,
that's a huge reason. That's a huge reason why they're off to the start they are. And I think that Holland's going to continue to have that track record where guys like Puljujarvi, Ryan McLeod, any of these guys coming up, Raphael Lavoie, who's going to be making his pro debut next year. He's another prospect I'm really excited about. All these guys are going to have to spend a year, maybe 2 years at least in the AHL before they get a shot at the NHL because he wants to see them performing at a high level at that league before they come up and get a shot in the NHL.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it goes down to Ken Holland. I mean, I have faith in him. He's a genius. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he's a very experienced GM. He's very patient. He
Definitely.
knows what to do, and he's gonna do a lot of good things for Edmonton. I
And
mean,
just think, sorry, go
I
take it
was
away.
really excited when he signed with Edmonton.
Oh
And
yeah.
of course, he saw the potential of the team. Of course, Connor is a big part there too. That I mean, it's good to have a Connor McDavid on your team. So it's good to put the pieces around him, and that's why I think it was a uh, good decision of him to come
Oh
to
yeah.
Edmonton.
Look, we have a GM with 23 years of experience as a manager, and that's extremely valuable and a big reason why I think the Oilers have a shot to win a Stanley Cup in the next 5 years, aside from the elite talent they have up front. But he's the guy who I think will be able to fill in this roster. And we'll just kind of quickly go there before I get to the last part of the podcast here. How do you rate his first year on the job? Because he was hired last May.
Awesome. I mean,
Simple as that.
yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of great stuff for the team. I mean, with all respect with other GMs, but I mean, I mean, I haven't seen any move that he didn't that I really, had an off move or something. I mean, he knows what he was doing. He's very patient. Um, I like the trade he did. I like the pieces that he added. He brought in. I mean, I know it's from his former team. I mean, Riley Sheehan, Andreas Athanasiou, and of course with Dave Tippett as well for Mike Smith. He knows Mike Smith very well. I mean, those guys really were a big part of what we accomplished this season, the success that we have this season, and bringing Josh Archibald as well, which Dave Tippett used to coach before. player that he coached before. I mean, they work really hard together. I mean, with you have a great coach and a great GM working hard together. I mean, it just shows that good stuff, good things will happen with the team.
I want to read a quote here that Ken Holland said when he spoke to the media back on February 24th. So this was the day of the trade deadline. And this was his message after acquiring Ennis and Athanasiou and Green. So he said, "My message today is we're trying to win. I've come to Edmonton and we've got a great nucleus. The players have played hard to put ourselves in this spot to compete for a playoff spot, and I feel I had an obligation to try and help out." So that's a clear message from Holland to his team, especially the leadership group in that locker room, that he wants to win right now and those players want to win right now. And he did everything he could to get them some more talent at the deadline so that they could go on a playoff run. And I think that the pieces he brought in are definitely going to help them in their series against the Blackhawks and hopefully going forward after that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that as well. I remember that interview as well with Ken Holland. I mean, he said he hats off to the guys. I mean, I owe it to the guys who really work hard to be in the position where we are right now. So, and then he just want to what you call this? Just want to give what he can to help out the team. You know what I mean? For to be successful and win games in the playoffs if ever we make the playoffs.
Definitely. So now let's just kind of wrap up talking a little more about the Stanley Cup playoffs before we call it a night here. Well, I guess it's night for you, morning for me. That's one of the things about
it's just like 8 minutes till midnight, so 11:52 p.m.
16 hour time difference here.
Crazy time zone.
Yeah, so 7:52 a.m. Saskatoon time, and what is it in Melbourne right now? 11:52 p.m. Yeah, so I've
Sunday.
Yeah, and I appreciate you calling in on Father's Day. Also, happy Father's Day to you. It's your
thank you. It's pleasure, bro.
Second Father's Day with your beautiful daughter Yola. But we'll just talk just quickly about the playoffs here. How far do you think the Oilers are going to go this year? Are they going to be done in the first round against the Blackhawks? Are they going to go to the second round and then get beat by one of the teams who got a first round bye? Are they going to go all the way to the Stanley Cup final? What do you think?
I'm hoping you can go all the way to the Stanley Cup, but I'm going for the conference final.
Conference final.
Just before I'm hoping we can win it till the end, but if we make the conference final, I'm happy.
So they'd have to win this best of 5 and then win two best of 7 series after that. So that's
Dallas,
a heck of a run.
They play Dallas.
Well, they might, because remember, all the teams that got a first round bye have to play a round robin to determine the seeding.
Yeah.
So they're all going to play each other. My prediction is that Dallas would finish 4th out of those 4 teams.
Yeah.
So the Oilers would very likely get to play Dallas in the next round, or I shouldn't say very likely, but more likely than not play Dallas in the first round if everything worked out the way I think it will, with the Oilers being the top seed and moving on and getting to play the lowest seed of the 4 teams that got the bye. So I would love to see that series brought back, because the Oilers and Stars had such a great rivalry in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's been 17 years since they met in the playoffs. So I would like to see those 2 teams kind of get after it again and kind of bring back some memories from back then. Even though there weren't that many good ones, the Oilers played them, I think, 6 times in the playoffs out of 7 years and only beat them once. But it would be great to get some revenge against them.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually,
I'm confident we can pull it out until the conference final. Yeah.
I mean, look, as long as you can get a hot goaltender, anything can happen, right?
That's right.
There's no
and healthy as well. as long as
Yeah,
everyone's
there's
healthy.
nothing more important than having good goaltending in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what team it is. Look at the Oilers in 2006. They barely snuck into the playoffs as the eighth seed. On the second last game of the season, they clinched. And with Dwayne Rollison, who they picked up at the deadline, this guy just plays out of this world and takes them all the way to the Stanley Cup final. They had to beat the President's Trophy winning Detroit Red Wings, who finished 29 points ahead of them. Then they had to beat the San Jose Sharks, who had the Art Ross Trophy winner in Joe Thornton and the Rocket Richard Trophy winner in Jonathan Chichu. Then they had to beat the Anaheim Ducks. Then they went to the final and had to play one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes, and they pushed them to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, even when Rolison got hurt in the finals. So it just shows you, if you get a hot goaltender, anything can happen. So with the Oilers having two guys that they kind of lean on, it'll be interesting to see who Tippett starts in net. I have a feeling it'll be Mike Smith just because of his relationship with him over the last decade,
Yeah,
but you
and more
never know.
experience as well.
Right, but if Koskinen, like if let's say they go back and forth, and what if Smith has a bad game in game one and the Blackhawks win, but then after that Koskinen comes in and they win, and then Koskinen goes back in, they win again, and then they win again, and well now he won 3 games in a row. You want to keep playing him until the wheels fall off a little bit. So goes to the next round and the play doesn't drop off at all. That's when you've just got, that's your guy. You got to keep riding him as long as he's going to be playing at this level. So I think one guy will emerge in the playoffs. The tandem works better, in my opinion, during the regular season, but it will be better to just find one goaltender if they can once the playoffs start.
Yeah, but I think based on the season, like whoever's hot, they just try to keep them on the net. If Mike Smith's hot, they just try to stick with Mike Smith. And if it's Mikko Koskinen, they'll just try to stick with Mikko Koskinen. But it depends as well. I mean, they tip it, shuffle sometimes, but mostly it's whoever's hot. But as you said as well, I think it's going to be Mike Smith to start on net, just because he has that playoff experience. I think Mikko Koskinen hasn't played any playoff games yet in the NHL, so
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Smith has the advantage right there. But you never know. I mean, both really perform well this season, so. Anyway, whoever starts in that, I'm confident, and I'm confident that they can, help the team win some playoff games.
Definitely. And I think we'll basically wrap it up there. Where can people follow you on Twitter, man?
Yeah, you can just follow me. I think _ Chester Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm just pulling up your Twitter right now, and you tweeted out a picture recently of you got 2 games for PS4 here, Madden 20 and NHL 18. So you've got McDavid and Patrick Mahomes, two generational talents, right?
yeah, that's right. Well, that's what I've been doing lately here during this lockdown, this pandemic time, and just trying to play with the PlayStation at night
Yeah.
when my baby and my wife are sleeping. Yeah, just play
Well,
some
look,
hockey games or Madden. Just any sports games. That's all I play anyway.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a Broncos fan, so Patrick Mahomes isn't my guy, but I have so much respect for that guy's talent. He is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen in a long time. And this is a guy who I think is going to win multiple Super Bowls. He already got his first one this year, and it's going to be tough for my Broncos going against him twice a year for the next decade or longer. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm hoping Drew Lock and all the receivers they added in the draft this year will at least give the Chiefs a challenge going forward. Although we had a pretty good 5-year stretch with Peyton Manning too, when the Broncos kind of owned the Chiefs during that period. So I guess it's your guys' turn for the next little while.
yeah. Well, I mean, you never know because Broncos they got strong defense, but it's just their
Yeah,
offense is a bit of a question mark. But their defense really is intact, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun season for sure.
and like I said, I don't hate the Chiefs as much as I hate like the Flames, for example.
Because of
But
the jersey color.
they do wear the same jersey color, so
Yeah.
it at least makes it easier to not like the Chiefs based on the red and yellow jerseys.
Yeah.
But no, Patrick Mahomes is a incredible player. So
Yes, he is. So he's like the McDavid of the NFL. That's why I see it.
Definitely. So yeah, everybody go give Chester a follow. Like I said, he's an awesome guy. He talks all kinds of sports, hockey, basketball, football. He's he's just an awesome guy to talk sports with, and he posts a lot of Oilers stuff too. And I know our Oilers community on Twitter is huge, and that's where I meet most of my guests. And I guess that's where our friendship started. Like I said earlier in the podcast 6 years ago, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on a second time, man. And let's do this again.
It's a pleasure, bro. Anytime, bro. I really enjoyed this podcast, and thanks for having me again.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oilers Live.